Welcome back. We are back. Welcome to B. I'm Ross. I want to jump right into it. If you clicked on this video, it's for a very common thing that I feel that we all are dealing with, and I want to talk about it. I want to be the one that talks about it. You're not the only one that's hearing voices within your head. However, you need to know which voice that you need to listen to. So let's jump right into it. Um, the first thing that I want to clarify that we all have different voices in our head, or we hear different voices in our head. This is not schizophrenia. This is not you're not a psycho. You're not a sociopath. None of those things. We all hear it. It's intuition. It's something deeper within. Some might call it discernment. Some might call it um, more so in the spiritual. We all have voices in our head, a conscience, so many different things that you can name it, but I don't want to really get into the semantics of what it's called. More importantly, we all have it, and which one we should listen to. Obviously, easy enough to say like, hey, you know what? We should listen to the one that is telling us to do positive things. That's the tricky part, because it depends on what you already are wrestling. What you're wrestling with, you can, in a way, be persuaded. The negative one voice can persuade you or convince you to do something that you shouldn't be doing, because you're already leaning towards doing it anyway. You'll try to rationalize within yourself and in your own mind that, you know what, I need to do this. For example, you think about Robin Hood. The fact of the matter is, Robin Hood was robbing. No matter how you like to spin it or how heroic the story was portrayed, what we all know about Robin Hood, he was taking from the rich and giving back to the poor. You can say, well, man, good for the poor. Two wrongs don't make a right. So regardless if the rich were taking from the poor and he was just taking it back, it's different ways to do it. But in his mind, he felt rationalized. And this is just a example. So if you're having a bad day, and unfortunately sometimes certain people, or myself included, back in, way back when, I would use alcohol as a cope. That doesn't make you a bad person, not at all. However, let's say I'm not going to drink any alcohol throughout the week, right? Not going to drink any alcohol throughout the week. And by the way, I don't drink now, but I'm not going to drink any alcohol throughout the week. And let's say, boom, it's Tuesday, it's Wednesday, I have a bad day. I've already made an agreement with myself that I'm not going to drink alcohol throughout the week. But because I'm having a bad day, and alcohol or whatever vice that people use may just make them feel so lackadaisy and free, or careless, so to speak, things just kind of blow over easier. I go take a drink. I've already made an agreement with myself that I'm not going to drink. However, that little voice in my mind said, well, it's okay. Everything is going to feel better. You're going to forget about this hard, bad day. And so now what that does in a negative way, that voice will become more and more louder and more persistent the more and more that we give in to, hey, this now, because alcohol was once something that was social, or once that or was something that was once every blue moon, that was occasional, that was special, you would toast or whatever the case may be. Now it has become a coping mechanism to where, hey, if I have a bad day, I know for sure I have a pick me up. So in a way, it's almost like after a while, you're looking to have a bad day. You hope you have a bad day. So you have a reason, you have an excuse to go use this coping mechanism. That's on a negative side. Now I want to elaborate more on the positive, the reason why you clicked on this video. But I just wanted to go ahead and get that out. And that was just an example. There's so many other different ways the negative voice tries to creep in. And whether that be infidelity, whether that be um, taking something that's not yours and trying to rationalize it, whether that's cheating on a test and trying to rationalize it because, oh, well, I gotta, no, try not to rationalize it. But anyway, uh, the voice within, and I was reading and I took a few notes on this and I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on it. Thank you for your patience, by the way. We know exactly what we like and dislike from a young age. However, through the course of life, we begin to compromise those feelings and intuitions for the sake of parents, peers, and fears. We spoke about that a few videos. If you haven't checked that video out, check out that video. What's hindering your purpose? 3 things that are hindering your purpose. And then you can always come back, or you can just finish this off, and then however you want to do it, it's totally up to you. But something that stood out to me is that we begin to compromise, just like with the alcohol. We're having a bad day. We said that we're only going to drink on a weekend, or we're only going to drink on an anniversary. We're only going to drink on a special occasion. But I'm going to compromise because I had a bad day. I deserve this. That person really got under my skin. I deserve this. And that's the unfortunate thing. You can't compromise. And no matter what it is, if your voice, for example, I made a vow, I made a commitment. I signed a contract to publish videos every single day for the next 365 days. My mind is made up. I can't compromise. The little voice within said, this is a great thing that you're doing. Stick to it. And then another voice comes right behind and say, you know what? That's a pretty long commitment. What if the power goes out? What if you're not feeling well? What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? So many different things came to mind that wasn't in the initial agreement. And that's the little voice that was trying to convince me not to do what the positive voice told me to do. So you have to be able to differentiate which one is more important overall. And I made a commitment. So therefore, I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to worry about something that is out of my control. If the power is out, we're going to go to Starbucks. Starbucks power is out, we're going to go to Target. If Target's power out, we're going to go to REI. If REI is out, we're going to go to Whole Foods. If there is a nationwide outage, better believe when that power comes back on, for however long we had a power outage, that's how many drops that we're going to drop that particular day, because I made a promise, a commitment, a covenant, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick to it. And another thing that stood out to me when I was reading, and I wanted to jot this down and share it with you. When we're younger, we were drawn to what we enjoyed, stayed clear from what we disliked, whether that be activities, subjects, movies, and even food. Let's go back to alcohol for example. And this is why we shouldn't drink. Because when we were younger, we had enough sense to stay away from it. For one, it sucked. It tastes terrible. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one where parents had a little bar in the house and you see these pretty weird looking bottles that make the adults a little loopy on holidays, and your curiosity. So you want to go take I'll never forget. Well, I won't mention the name, but I took parents, they wasn't drinkers. They were, they would just have it for the guest whenever occasions would happen. So it was a little bar by the pool table. And, it was always full, because not necessarily the bar, but the bottles, because like I said, my parents, they didn't drink. So it was a commercial. In that particular commercial, and how they advertised it, and I was like, man, it looks good. That looks refreshing. That literally looks like Sprite. I want some. And fast forward, I see the exact same bottle in the house. Advertisement. And the little voice told me to try it because I made it my mission. I wanted to try this because it was advertised to perfection. So I tasted and I almost passed out, almost vomit. It was literally like rubbing alcohol. It was my body rejected it immediately. I didn't even feel an effect. Didn't feel a. I mean, I literally just spit it all out, and I know they smelt it all over the carpet, and because I took a mouthful of it, like I just got done playing basketball outside in 115-degree weather in Arizona at 2 p.m. and I've never even been there, but I can only imagine how hot it was and how refreshing some water or some Gatorade would be. That was the type of mouthful that I took. And obviously I swallowed a little bit. And sure, you could say, well, your parents should have locked it up. No, it's not their fault. I was in seventh. No, I was in eighth grade. I'm not a baby. I was a teenager. But one or two things could have happened. I could have enjoyed it. And it would have been a domino effect, unfortunately, which is what happens to people. Or I would have reacted the same way I did. Terrible. It was terrible. Spit it all over the ground. Vowed to never do it ever again in my life. Fast forward, I'm older now. I'm much older. Probably graduated high school, and sure enough, I'm in college. As a matter of fact, I'm in college. Tried again. Overdid it. You know, you're around different people. Overdid it. Felt terrible. And this is the worst thing that happens with alcohol or anything, any substance that you experience when you're younger. I compromised. I did it again. And that's how doors open. Because the next time I did drink alcohol, I said, you know what? I had a pretty decent time when I was inebriated under the influence of alcohol. I had a pretty good time. But I overdid it because I had a bad hangover and I threw up. So I'll just dial it back some because when, throughout the midst of the night, I had a pretty good time. It wasn't that bad. So that's what happens. You begin to compromise and you think that you can control this toxic thing, which you shouldn't, because your first initial response to it is exactly where you should have stayed. And that's what happened. I was young. I tried it for the first time. I hated it. I vowed to never do it again. However, I compromised. But thankfully, it wasn't something that had a strong hold on me. And that's what we have to do with the little voice in the head. We should never compromise, no matter what it is. Like I mentioned, whether it's movies, activities, things that peers might be trying to tell you to do. If people call you a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout or square or a lame or, oh, you're boring, be that. Because there are a plethora of people that are exactly like you. And that's what we're promoting in this community. So you don't have to try to fit in. As a matter of fact, stand out, stand as far out, be a square, remain a square, because that's what the little voice in your head is telling you, because so many people have fallen to this liquid elixir that has ruined so many families because they wasn't able to shake it because they compromised. They wanted to fit in, and a lot of things have happened. And this is not to just go on a rant about alcohol, but we all know the dangers of it, whether that be drinking and driving, the irate. People might try to defend it and say, well, I'm not that type of, sure, perfectly fine if you feel that way. But for most of us, if we just call it what it is, if it makes you throw up, if you drink too much, that's your body rejecting it. We all can agree. And it's safe to say, let's leave it at that. And if we would not give it to a child. We would say, don't you ever do this again. If you ever catch a child drinking, wait till you're of age. Obviously, because we want the best for that child, we should want the best for ourselves. So don't compromise. because the little voice in your head will tell you, don't do it, no matter what that is. Whether that's, you might really want these nice pair of shoes, but you kind of said, you know what, I'm going to pay down this credit card, or I'm going to pay down this or that. Don't compromise, no matter what it is. Stay strong. Do what you're supposed to do. Listen to that little voice in your head, because it's always going to lead you into the right direction if you're listening to the right one. And another thing, the importance of recognizing these inclinations are that they are clear indicators. Clear indicators. Clear. They're clear. We have to, it's like when you see a stop sign or a yield sign and you say, well, I don't always have to stop. And boom, that's when you get into a collision, is because it was a clear indicator. Stop. Stop. Whatever it might be, stop. It's a clear indicator. That's how it is with the little voice in your head. Listen to it. It's a clear indicator. It's a clear indicators of an attraction that aren't affected by desires of other people. I challenge you to do something. Okay, before I give you your challenges for the day, that's why you have to listen to the little voice in your head. Is because it's what you want to do. No one is pressuring you to, and no, you cannot say, well, I'm drinking because I want to. We're taking alcohol off the table. But let's say reading, or let's say joining a book club. Let's say becoming a mathlete. Let's say that you want to start journaling more. You want to start seminars and webinars, or speaking, or donating, or helping build houses, volunteering. I don't know, volunteering at the veterinarian, feeding during the holidays, whatever it might be. You're doing it because that's what you want to do. And that's the little voice in your head, meaning that you are headed in the right direction simply because that is something that you want to do. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. I want to challenge you to do 3 things. Listen to the positive. Remember, the positive voice in your head. We have 2. The positive voice in your head, I want you to listen to that. Number 2, I want you to do what feels organic, what feels natural, what's fulfilling. And the 3rd thing, I want you to be here and tune in and be ready for tomorrow's video, because we can't do this without you. As always, I would love for you to befriend the day. I want you to be here tomorrow, because we have all made a commitment for the next 362 days to commit to building this brand new community of individuals that are not only going to hold one another accountable, but we're also going to encourage one another to listen to the inner voice, to stop allowing certain things to hinder us. Whatever things that we might be wrestling with, we're going to help one another get over it. And this is the place where we're going to do it. So if you found any value in this video, you know what to do. I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. As always, befriend today. I'm Ross.